Hello students, welcome to class again today. Today we are going to do lesson 4 of unit 6, which is using maps. However, today we are going to be concentrating on grammar, and in grammar we are going to be looking at comparative adjective or comparative adjectives. So I want you to start thinking about different kinds of adjectives that you know and how to begin to compare adjectives with one another, especially with regards to using them in sentences. So while you are thinking about that, let us go to the warm-up activity for today. As it was yesterday, we studied travel prepositions, and in the warm-up class for today, we are going to practice it again. So I've got 12 questions here for you, and I have the prepositions into, at, in, to, on, off, out of. You have 12 questions. You have 5 minutes to put these prepositions, use the prepositions to complete these sentences that we have here. Your time starts now. See if you can complete it and if you can get it all correct. Okay, so start. Okay, so now you're done. I hope that you are able to get it correctly. Let's quickly do the corrections so that you will know what you got. Okay, number one. At the bus station, I got on the bus. On is the correct for one. Two, when I got to the car, it wouldn't start. When I got to the car, it wouldn't work. However, you can also use into. So when I got into the car, it wouldn't start. You can use into and also or when I got on, it wouldn't work. However, number two here depends on context that you're talking about. So it depends on the context. So into works here, on works here, and to also works here. All depends on context. So there's no one definite answer to this. There are multiple. Okay. Three. After the flight, I got out of the plane. After the flight, I got out of the plane. Number four. I arrived dash the airport very late. I arrived at the airport very late. Number five. When I got home, I got out of the car and went into the house. Number six, I have to stand in a queue to buy a cup of coffee. I have to stand in a queue to buy a cup of coffee. I had to pay I had to pay at the ticket machine. I had I had to pay at the ticket machine. I arrived I arrived at Liverpool. I arrived at Liverpool at 9 o'clock. 9. I got to the party at the same time as Sam. 10. When I drove to Glasgow, it took 8 hours. When I drove to Glasgow, it took 8 hours. 11. My telephone rang while I was in the car. Here you can use in the car because you're describing the position or the place where you are. Okay? When my telephone rang, I was in the car. 12. I was reading a book. I was reading a book dash the train. So let's look which is the best. I was reading a book at the train. I was reading a book in the train. I was reading a book on the train. I was reading a book out of. The best fit answer here is I was reading a book in the train. However, here in and on can work together because it's not talking about your means of transportation now. It was talking about an action. So I was reading a book on the train and I was reading a book in the train works here. It just depends on which you choose to use. Okay? So that is your answers. And if you have an answer different from mine and you submit it, I'm just going to check if it works with the context, and if it is workable, I give you the mark. With prepositions, uh, sometimes you can use them interchangeably. Okay, so to the business of the day. Coursebook activities that we're going to be doing today includes grammar work, grammar practice, and speaking exercises. So let's dive straight right in. Like I told you today, we are going to be working on our grammar and we're going to be working on comparative adjectives. So we know already that adjectives are words, are descriptive words that tells us that describes a noun. But however, when we talk about comparative adjectives, we talk about when you're trying to make an evaluation or a comment on two things, two entities, two objects, or two uh, 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 objects, things, or person. Now, there is need to make a comparison, and how better way to use it? How better to do that than using comparative adjectives? So, when we use comparative adjectives, of course, we are talking about two or more things inside in terms of qualities, a quantity, or a physical feature. Okay, so we're just going to read quickly on this introduction before we go into details about comparative adjectives. Now, use comparative adjectives to make comparisons. That's what we use them for. So, like examples are smaller than, bigger than. Okay, so this comparison here is in terms of size. So, how do we make comparative adjectives? We have different ways of making them. First, most one syllable adjectives make their comparative by adding er. So short adjectives that are made up of one syllable, you just add er to make a comparative. Okay? I know by now you know comparatives and superlatives, but do not take your mind far to superlatives. We're just concerned about comparatives right now. And to make one syllable adjective comparative, simply add er. Clear becomes clearer. Okay? Another example is um, neat becomes neater, and so on and so forth. Okay. Sometimes you have to make spelling changes. Okay. Example, easy becomes easier. With easy, the Y changes to I, or you remove the Y and replace it with I before adding the ER. For most adjectives, one syllable adjectives that ends in Y, we have to replace the Y's with I before adding ER. We'll speak about these rules in a short time from now. Secondly, for longer adjectives, now including some two syllable adjectives, we use more plus the adjective to give the comparative. Example, useful. You see, useful is has two syllables. Okay, useful. So for this example, you add the word more. More useful is a comparative. Also, another example is important. Important is a little bit long, it's longer than, it has more than one syllable. So for that, you add the word more. So comparative of important is more important. Number three, to make a comparison stronger, use much. Okay? Example, it's much easier to understand a map when you know what all the symbols mean. Another example, a conventional map is much better and much more useful than a satellite map. Lastly, to make a comparison between things that are or aren't equal, we use as, dash as, or not as dash as. Example, a satellite map isn't as clear as a conventional map. Okay, so this is just uh, 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 a quick explanation. Let's look at it in a little bit more detail. Okay, now let's look at this grammar comparative adjectives. Now, we use comparative adjectives when we want to compare two different things. If an adjective if an adjective has one syllable or has two syllables and ends in the letter Y, we usually add the ending ER for comparative adjectives. E.g., young becomes younger, fast becomes faster. Okay, so if it ends in Y, we remove the Y actually, then we add I before adding the ER. That was what that explanation was supposed to be. There was a little mistake right there. So there are some exceptions to this rule. If an adjective has one syllable and ends in the letter E, we only add the ending R for comparative adjective. Example, nice, nicer. You don't need to add another E. It has an E at the end, just add the R. Also, for large, it becomes larger. Add an R also. If an adjective ends in one vowel and one consonant, we double the last consonant before adding ER. Okay? Hope you know what the consonants are. The consonants are all the words of the alphabet except A, E, I, O, U, which of course are vowels. Okay, example. Thin becomes thinner. Big becomes bigger. You see, there is a vowel and a consonant. So before adding the ER, add the last letter, which is the consonant, then before adding the ER also for big. You can see that works for these two examples. Let's go see more. If the adjective ends in the letter Y, we change Y to I before adding ER. Example, pretty becomes prettier. Funny becomes funnier. If the adjective has two syllables and does not end in Y or has more than two syllables, we don't change the endings. We use more and the most for comparative forms. More for comparative forms and most of course for the superlative. I think that is what this means. So much error. Okay, so we go on. Adjective interesting, because it is long, more than one syllable, of course we add more. More interesting. Beautiful, more beautiful. Finally, some adjectives are irregular. They don't go with the rule of EI and ER, IER, and all that, and even most, they are just different. The adjectives are different from the comparatives. In this case, you just have to learn them by heart and know these irregular adjectives. Okay, example. Good is the adjective, the comparative is better. Bad comparative is worse. Many comparative is more, and far comparative is farther or further. So you have to remember those ones by heart. Okay, when using comparative, we use the word than to say that we are comparing something to another. Example, my brother is older than me. You see the than being used after the comparative. Yeah? Don't forget that you must use the correct form of the verb to be before an adjective. Okay? Example, my sister is shorter than me. You cannot just say my sister shorter than me. You have to use the verb to be either in the present tense or in the past tense. Okay? All right. So this is a quick explanation into comparatives for adjectives. So now we are going to examine this map with a partner. Look at the map and complete these questions. Using comparative adjective, then answer them using much where possible. Okay? Use the word much where it is possible. Now, this is a map. Yes, I'd like to correct something yesterday. So yesterday we looked at this map and I was calling this place a certain name that wasn't correct. So I apologize. Yesterday I was calling this place New Quay. Well, that is the wrong pronunciation. It's actually pronounced as New Key. So the name of this town is called New Key. If you can, delete what I told you from your mind and put this rule straight right in, please. This town is called New Key. New Key. Okay, so let's get back to what we are doing. Use this map to complete these comparative sentences. Number one, which beach is closer to the railway station? Fitzroy Beach or the beach at New Key Bay? Which is closer? Okay, Fitzroy Beach or the beach at New Key Bay. So let's just zoom in this map quickly and compare this. Fitzroy Beach and New Key Bay. Where's Fitzroy Beach? This is Fitzroy Beach and New Key Bay. You can see New Key Bay here and you can see the Fitzroy Beach. So which one is which one is which one is closer to the railway station? That's the question. Which is closer to the railway? So you see, this is New Key Bay Beach. This is the railway, and this is the Fitzroy Beach, and this is the railway. So of course, the New Key Bay is closer. So let's see the sentence as it is written. So the beach at New Key Bay is much closer than Fitzroy Beach, as you can see from the map. Okay, so I want you with a partner to do these other four sentences. Is Fitzroy Beach dash than the beach at New Key Beach? As New Key Beach, you are using the adjective noun long. You need to find the comparative. Okay, is Crantuck dash as New Key? Now this is big. Okay, the adjective is big. Is the golf course much dash than Fitzroy Beach? Big. This is size. You're going from campsite at Crantuck to Fitzroy Beach. Is it dash to go by car than it is to go on foot? The adjective is convenient. So look at the map, find out about distance, size and convenience, and write the appropriate comparatives here. And remember, use the word much where it is appropriate in your work. Okay, we should take 5 minutes to do that before we move to the next slide. Okay, so in the next slide here is about speaking. Also, your partner that you've done the previous work with, stick together to do this one also. So this is a speaking activity, a pair work. Work with a partner. Use the prompt to give your opinion using much. Much dash dash than, and as dash dash as, or not as dash as. Then exchange opinions with another pair. We have a prompt here. Is a what? This is our campus, and this is what for a person in a train or a train, a means of transportation. So let's see. And we also have some sentences here as prompts. Of course, they are not, they've been put in a particular order. I think you have to order them appropriately. Let's look at the first example. Having a holiday, having a holiday at the beach, dash exciting, dash visiting a big city. So you remember what you need to do here. Speaking, using, give your opinion now about this prompt using much dash than or as dash as or not as dash as. Okay. So for this example now, my opinion is having a holiday at the beach is much more exciting than visiting a big city. This is my opinion. So with your partner, give your opinion using these prompts. First one is camping, enjoyable, staying in a hotel. 3. Finding your way with a map, dash reliable, asking people for directions. 4. A compass, dash useful, dash a mobile phone when you're walking in the mountains. 5. Visiting a big modern city, dash interesting, dash visiting a small old town. And 6. Traveling by train, dash quick, dash traveling by bus. So may give your opinion using these comparatives here that we have. You need to look closely at this first example to be able to give your opinion in a proper manner. Okay? By doing this, you practice how to use comparative in your daily language usage. Okay? So this is what we have for today. Um yeah, once you're done, especially with this work, you send it in, we do the corrections, and we check. Make sure that you are using the language here, the comparatives in a proper way. Okay. However, if you have any question using it or using them, you can contact me and I will help with whatsoever is not clear.